Hello everybody and welcome to Green Star Trading with me, Tom. All views, opinions and ideas expressed in this video are my own and do not constitute financial or trading advice in any way. Right, for the next few minutes we're going to be looking at the DJI, which is the Dow Jones Industrial Average. And you're going to have to forgive me, I'm still full of cold, I'm still coughing and spluttering, and I'm doing the best I can to get by. So just a heads up in case my voice goes completely or I'm coughing through the microphone, but I'm going to do the best I can to get through this in the shortest time possible. Right, we haven't had a count on the Dow for months. I've focused mainly on the SPY and the NDX, NASDAQ, and I just haven't been able to get a count together for the DJI where I've been happy with it. I've been able to slap something on it here and there, but I just haven't been happy. Well, this is the closest I've been to happy with the count, so it's time to look at it. And it has very politely provided a bit of price action literally just today, which has helped confirm my suspicions. So, without further ado, let's talk our way through the count so far. It will not take too long. But what's different about this count, excuse me, is that we have an extension in the 1, a shorter primary 3, which gives us a limit for our wave 5. So, the advantage of this count is we know where it will end, and where it should end and should not go beyond, and therefore if it's wrong we'll know when it does, and if that ending condition is met and not invalidated, we'll know that the market's topped. So we get the best of both worlds here. We get to be proven right or wrong in pretty short order. So without further ado, let's have a look at it. Right, so primary wave degree, we look like this, and you can see that if we connect if we just draw a line, let's say from where we propose our ending for our 5, and we draw a line from our 2 to our 3 and our 4, or to our 4, you can see we get this rising wedge kind of shape. Now, we traditionally call these diagonals, and it could be counted as a diagonal, as a 5-3, 5-3, 5. Which is typically more often seen in a leading diagonal, but there's no reason why you can't see it as an ending diagonal, 5-3, 5-3, 5. It's just that the count of 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, you will only ever see that as an ending diagonal. So, there we go. 5 waves up. We've got 5 intermediate waves, 1, 2, 3, 4 as a triangle, 5 into our primary 1. The 3 does look small, but it is ever so slightly longer than the 1. Ever so slightly longer than the 5. So it's not the longest wave, but it's not the shortest. So legal there. We get this flat correction, A, B, C, regular flat for our wave 1 into our 2. And then this is where things got really tricky. But we come up in a 1, 2, 3, 4 with no overlap, 5, very small 5th wave. This does all subdivide as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. None of the 3s are the shortest in any of these minor waves or minute waves, and none of the 4s overlap. So although it's messy, we do get up here, and it was finding the counts here at minute level, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, as a leading diagonal into the 5th of the wave 1, as an ending diagonal, I should say, which is what basically made it possible for me to move the intermediate 2 into a place excuse me, where I could move the count onwards and upwards. We then get a running flat in our 4. Don't know why that's green. Yellow, that should be green. Okay, and then we finally are working on 1, 2, 3, 4 completed today as a beautiful triangle. And now we've got 5 waves up into a 5th of a 5th of a 5th, and we've topped. The great thing about the pattern today is because we've got a triangle, we know we're in a penultimate move. Because if you know your Elliott wave theory, and if you don't know your Elliott wave theory, you should become a patron, tier 2 patron, and go follow my Elliott wave course and watch all the lesson videos over there, and you can become familiar with Elliott wave theory. It's only 10 quid a month. That's that plug over with. So basically, what do we know about triangles? Well, we know they occur in B waves, X waves, and 4th waves of motive waves. So this is a motive wave up, 5 minor waves up into a 1, A, B, C zigzag into a 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 minor waves up into a 3, 4 for our triangle, lovely A, B, C, D, E, 1, 2. Now we've broken it, 3, 4, 5, and we're done. So I think I've been saying with all the markets that we're in the 5th and final wave, which is going to lead us out into summer. I don't know if this is accurate in terms of how long it will take. It could take a while. We could go 1, 2, 3, long, trundling, 4, triangle, 5. We don't know how long it's going to take to get there, but I'm pretty confident we're in the final move up. Excuse me. So let's have a look at this target and how we got it. So what I do when we identify our main primary waves is I just throw off a bunch of levels, and what these allow me to do is to quickly identify the peak of a wave and the bottom of the peak of an impulse wave or motive wave and the completion of the subsequent corrective wave, so yellow and red. You could do using green and red, but what this allows me to do is to quickly measure fib extensions without having to zoom in and pinpoint and try and find where the exact low and the exact high is, because I've got lines I can use anywhere on the map. Anywhere on the chart. Sorry, I sometimes refer to it as a map when I'm doing my own work. Excuse me. Right then, so taking our wave 1 and projecting it from R2, we find the 3 falls short of even 50% of its length, and yet the count gets us there. So the 3 is definitely shorter than the 1, and therefore this limits where the 5 can go, because the 5 cannot now be longer than the 3. So we come to the line anywhere we want on the line of the red line here, which is the bottom of the 2. We come up to where the yellow line is for the 3, and then we drop down to the next red line, which is the 4. And we see that 100% the length of 3 brings us to 3, 5, 6, 7, 6, spot 8. 3, 5, 6, 7, 6, spot 8. And this is our limit for our wave 5. We will likely stop before then. If this count is correct, we will have to stop before then, and we will roll over, and that will be the top of the market. And then it's a correction time of this whole move. And if my longer term count, this could be correction time of a lot bigger move than just a 5th cycle wave. This could be Grand Super Cycle 3, Grand Super Cycle 1, or Super Cycle 3, possibly. So either way, we'd be looking at a serious move down. So now you could say, yes, well, Tom, how do you know, excuse me, that you've got your 3 in the right place? The thing is, I don't know it. So all I've had to do is try and find a way of supporting this count. Now, the diagonal kind of shape we've got supports the idea that we're in the 5th and final cycle wave as we head towards the high. But we've also got a very neat modified shift pitchfork here. Excuse me, which brings us to a completion pretty much on the median line, depending on where you go. Obviously, you could hit the median line right here, but we can see how taking our swing high, swing low of our primary wave pivot 1, 2, we have basically tracked the median line, where we come from top to bottom to the median, gap through it, back to test it, up above it, back to test it, trundle along it, underneath it, test it for resistance, test it for resistance, test it for resistance, fall through it, work our way back up, fall to the bottom of a pitchfork, thrust our way back up towards the median line, test the 61.8 here, and we've just been trundling in this kind of area. You know, we've hit the bottom more than we've hit the top. So this median line, although it's considering that it's been resistance before, may well prove resistance again. So let's just adjust our count slightly, and let's say, alright then, we can finish pretty much on it. We could come up sooner, okay, we could come up sooner and finish before we hit our target. We don't want to go through the target, but we could work our way up into the median line, something like this, for one final test, yeah, and then we're done, and it's game over. Now, we don't have to come up that high. That's the next thing I want to say. We don't have to come up this high. We could just reach the top of the 3, intermediate 3, and that would be enough. If we just make a new all-time high at all, that could be enough to just say the 5's in and we're done. But the thing is, so far the count doesn't support that. Let's just come down to a shorter time frame and see what we can see. So far, I think we can see a 1 here, and a 2 here, and then a 1 here, and a 2 here, and then a 3 and a 4 here. So I think we're building up minute time frame. So let's just pop a minute time frame on it. Something like this. Maybe that's a little maybe that's a little pessimistic, and we should look for the possibility of this being a 1-2, 1-2 into a minute time frame. But let's just follow it for a moment and say, right then, 3, 4, and then we get a much shorter conclusion, and we finish a lot sooner. That's possible, but it's basically down to how this develops. But since the balls have broken out of this triangle today, let's give them the benefit of a doubt and say that we're actually going to see a extension within a minute wave 3. So we're going to get, we've got our 1-2, so maybe we've got 1, 2 here, and then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 at minuet wave degree. Let's just say that for a moment, and give the wave 3 the typical extension we expect to see, as it's the most common extension. It tends to show up most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, and then that would extend the wave 3 a little further. Then we get a wave 4 correction in the minor wave degree, probably pulling back into the previous wave degree here, which is quite not so common in a triangle because of sideways correction rather than sort of the depth of it. Either way, the cutoff for that would be the top of the wave 1 back here. We wouldn't be able to go beyond that, so it'd have to be concluded before then. Excuse me. And then the 5th and final push up out into early summer. I've got this as May. Well, not quite into summer then, late spring. But this could take longer. We could go 1, 2, 3 up to here, 4 out to here, 5. You know, it could take a bit longer. But either way, mid-May, a couple of weeks' time or so. The Nasdaq looks like it's either topped already, or it's completing a 4th wave expanding flat pattern and will push higher into a 5th. The SPY is looking more confusing, like it may have topped as well. But it could also be an expanding flat 4th into a 5th. And if they are all doing their own 4th wave thing into the 5th, and they all support one another at that point. We've got a triangle here and a couple of flat patterns in the other indices. So anyway, that concludes our Elliott wave theory section for the video. Taking a bit longer than I normally would because it's a new count and I've got to present it. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to wrap things up with a bit of basic technical analysis before we leave. So we're just going to hide our pitchfork, hide our count. We're going to come out to the daytime frame. Or to the chart. I don't know why, but I can't get the volume profile on this one. I've tried to bring it up and it just won't allow. It's not available by the vendor, apparently. So there you go. It doesn't work. Excuse me. So we're just going to bring up our 10 exponential moving average in yellow, our 20 in blue, our 60 in orange, and our 250 in green. And we're going to bring up our indicators here and see what we can see. So excuse me. On the daily time frame we are, and let's come out to the weekly then for a moment. On the weekly time frame, we are above the 10, 20, 60 and 250 exponential moving averages. We have our RSI here set to a 10 close. Green 30 level is oversold, red 70 level is overbought, and as you can see, we are overbought. We've come up, we've come back down, and we're going back up again. So we're above that overbought condition. So the Dow, with the idea of this being a diagonal, I actually quite like this because we've seen divergence in the Nasdaq and in the S&P. Yes, it's disappeared in the S&P, hasn't disappeared in the Nasdaq, but the idea that we just climb to a final peak and each peak is in succession supports the idea of a diagonal quite nicely, and we're finishing the top of the market in overbought conditions. So there you go. No obvious divergence yet. We may get a high and then roll over a bit, and then we'll probably get that first initial flush down. We'll wait and see. But that could be for a few weeks away yet. But if we do see divergence between this high and a new high which comes very soon, perhaps, that could be divergence. Now, we're still positive in the MACD, well above the zero bound. Short-term moving average is over the long-term moving average. There's no red bars on the histogram. We've lost some bullish momentum here, but with a sudden pop today out of this triangle, this is likely to turn positive for the week, I think, if we continue to drive higher. So for the moment, no sign of a bearish collapse at all. Things are still bullish all over. Bullish in moving average, bullish in momentum, and bullish in our MACD. We're just looking solid, really. So this will support one final push up. Daytime frame. We came down to test the 20 exponential moving average, or not quite. We got close to it. Still above the, but now we're above the 10, above the 20, above the 60, above the 250, and we've actually started to build a divergence in our RSI, but it's too early to call it that yet because we need to see a lower high in the RSI. So if we do get this push up here and we don't quite make it back above this level around 78, 79 on the RSI, then you could point to bearish divergence at the completion of the market on the daytime frame, and then we could sell off. But this could disappear, and we could just go higher into overbought as we make this last push up. Either way, it still looks bullish. It looks like we've just broken out and we're about to push higher. The MACD, it looks like on the daytime frame, we have had this little bearish consolidation for a while. On the daytime frame, that bearish momentum is now dying off. Short-term moving average is flattening out. This should have enough momentum in the final move, I would guess. I can't say for certain, but it should have enough to cross over bullishly one last time and push some green bars into the histogram here. So, basic technical analysis supporting the fact that we've just broken out of the wave 4 triangle. We've consolidated for a while, and now we should continue higher. Right, so we don't do this very often, but because we've got a triangle, we're going to bring the count back up, and we're just going to come down to a smaller time frame and see if we've got any evidence which supports the idea of a triangle given our momentum indicators, because we've just had a breakout, haven't we? And I would say yes, we do. Let's just have a look at these peaks here. We have a series of lower peaks, lower high, lower high, high, lower high, lower high, lower high, and we have a series of rising lows, low, high, low, high, low. It completes with this pop out of that momentum triangle here, you can see, into a 1, into a 2, which is the back test of it here, and then we're moving off. So, yeah, the whole triangle is supported in our RSI indicator as well, and to a lesser extent, but it is there, to a lesser extent, but also in our MACD. Now, you don't have to do this, there's no strict rule saying this, it's just an observation, but out of all the corrective patterns, a triangle should be supported. I think it should be supported by a momentum indicator. We should see a tightening of a coiling of these momentum indicators, which supports the idea of a triangle, and we have that in place. So it's all good. Right then, guys, I've got to leave it there because I don't think I can go on much longer. So if you're new to the channel and you've liked what you've seen, I apologise for the state of my health at the moment. It's not a great way to be introduced to a channel, I know. But if you like what you've seen, please subscribe, smash the like, leave us a comment section in the comment section below if you want to. Hit the little bell notification icon to remain informed of future video releases. And before I go, thank you to my patrons. Your support is greatly appreciated. And if you are interested in learning Elliott Wave or getting a whole bunch of other benefits as well, then head on over to my Patreon and have a read of the tiers. There's a link in the description below, along with my Twitter feed. You should go over and follow me there as well, as I always give prior notice of future videos being posted. So, all the best, take care, and I will hopefully be back with you later in the week. Bye bye.